So, hi and hello. This is my first time doing a video for the Slick group page, so hopefully it'll go well. But let's just start off with some basics, right? So my name is KitKat. I'm not gonna go into too much about like me as an individual. I have a personal page for those things. But Slick is comprised of myself and a few other members who are ultimately trying to produce and work towards this group involvement, group development, and really for people of color. And from my perspective, I'm speaking as a black person who try to reach out, right? Try to be more and more involved in this thing that they have found themselves liking, that they have found themselves um, interested in. So it can be hard. It can be a really hard because there are stigmas inside of the community about not doing things like that. There are stigmas inside for me, the black community again, about not doing kink related things, about not wanting to be considered like a perverted or like hypersexual or um, like doing really explicit things somehow makes you less of a person. And the reason why so this is important for people of color a lot is that already you have so many social constructs, right, pushing you to not be engaged in something that you care about. Um, a lot of black people are often Christian or often Baptist. And if any of us know something about Christian guilt, like there's a lot that gets built upon that, right? And um, a lot of respectability politics go into it. And then on the outside, like trying to come into those communities, which are predominantly white, you end up having to deal with a lot of fetishization, which doesn't help the fact that like you're trying to go in as like engaging in this new thing and off of the back, yeah, people want you there, but they only want you there as far as you can satisfy their needs. Like, as long as you are an accessory, they want you there. As long as you are the person who can tell them that they're doing such a good job at inclusivity, then they want you there. They want you to be the token. They want you to be, just easily digestible. Put you in a little box, package you up. Thank goodness. Well, we've got that Asian person at my dungeon. Well, we've got that Mexican person at my dungeon. Well, we've got that black person at my dungeon. Like, so, Latinx. Um, like, there are a lot of different aspects to why it can be hard to be a part of your local community and what all of those things mean and having a lot of things around those things. For instance, like just literally just differences in vernacular. There was a situation where like even terminology is so different, right? You have to understand that in America, like with all other languages, there are multiple dialects to any language, right? And so someone saying the word freak may mean a completely different thing to each person who hears it. And it may be exceptionally derogatory for some people, but it may also just be like, okay, whatever. Like, you're basically just calling me weird. I don't care. But other people are like, no, I'm specifically attacking the fact that you like to be sexual. And I am telling you that you are lesser of a person because of that. Like, so there are a lot of different things, but Slick is to help educate that, is to help promote the like full actualization of people of color so that they can participate in these things without fear of discrimination, or at the end of the day still have support, like still be able to come back to like a focused group and be like, I am here, I support you, I love you, and I will do whatever is in my power to make sure that you have the resources available to you. There are I always do this to myself. I'll get caught up and like I'll just start rolling basically. So anyway, today, so that's what Slick is. That's our purpose. That is our purpose, is to help fight discrimination inside of the community. It's to help stand with individuals who are out there alone. It's to let people know that you have a a whole group of people that love and support you right behind the scenes, and it's to get out as much information and resources as we can, right? So I have the privilege of being able to be open. I am fully open, with some caveats, um, about my sexuality, my gender identity, and kink as a lifestyle for me. Now, being open for me doesn't mean that it's the first thing that comes out of my mouth, obviously, because there are a lot of discriminations as far as that is concerned. There's a lot of privacy concerns that come up, there are some work concerns that come up. So, I say this to let you know that I understand that some people need to remain anonymous throughout their voyage, throughout their journey, and however long you need to remain anonymous, whatever you need to do for your safety, then it's fine. I feel we're 100% on board with that. At the end of the day, we're a team, and we can understand each other, and we can be here for each other, and we can respect each other. So that should qualify for the introduction. I really wanted to make this video as a starter video, just to put something out, just to try and keep going. I want to do these once a day. I'll try not to make it too long for you guys, but that is why I also decided to do it on an Instagram TV. So you're actually kind of watching more or less a full episode here. But I thought the best way to start is at the beginning, right? So BDSM 101. One thing that is important, no matter what level you're in, no matter when you started, is to always go back and make sure that you're understanding what consent is. Sorry, I touched my face. Wash my hands. But no, really. So consent. And people think consent is as simple as yes or no, right? Or that it pertains to sex specifically, which it does not. Consent is a matter of all things. Like when you step into a restaurant and you sit down at a table, right? There's these understood and implied consents of which you are waiting for a server or a waitress to come and take your order. So at that moment, you gotta consent to be asked, at the very minimum, right? It's for somebody to come up and ask you. So it really does pertain to all matters of our lives, all things that we want to do or that we don't want to do, or matters that do and do not have our consent about the situation. This comes up in the medical industry. This comes up with people taking records. I've even been in vet offices where they asked me to do something, and not necessarily that I'll probably just edit that out. Let's do that. where I was in vet offices and they asked me if they could do something to my pet. And then at the end of the day, it was like, well, that's not really what I want. And they're like, okay, well, it'll be super quick, blah, 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 blah. Like, they went ahead and did it. And I realized that I didn't have a lot of other options other than to let them do that thing. But was I entirely comfortable with it? No. Did it have all of my consent? No. And so you get on a daily basis that people don't really understand it. That, like, people don't wait for you to give a distinct, firm, actual, yes, this is okay, I am fine with this. Which is the basis of consent. And to also understand that consent is ongoing, that consent is ever changing, that, like, literally you can be in the middle of anything and be like, actually, I don't like this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't okay with me anymore. And I'd prefer we could, like, pause the brakes on this, or, like, take a moment, or, like, figure something out, or talk about it some more. Like, consent. Consent. And I want to do a really good job at trying to explain this, especially for people who are newer, who are maybe tuning in and trying to be like, well, let me see what this is about. Like, it deserves a full video. It is not as simple as just a saying, oh, well, understand somebody's no means no, because not saying yes means no. Like, any that's hard for a shy person to hear, right? Let me explain this from someone who might be a little bit more on the apprehensive side. Okay, let's say I do want to do this thing, but I've never done it before. I don't know what's ahead of me. I don't know what may happen. I don't know exactly who you are. I don't know what your skill level is. Like, I want to do this thing. I want to 100% enthusiastically want to, but I have so many questions going on. I have so much that I still have to think about. Like, it's not as easy for me to just say yes, because at the end of the day, that also means that I have to invalidate all the other concerns that I have so that I can do this thing, which isn't consensual either. Like, you having to reprogram what's going on in your head so that you can say yes to a thing is not honestly consent. It's not. It's you actually, like, talking yourself into it, which is coercion. Like, if somebody also comes to you and you're like, I don't know, and then they start, well, what about this? Well, okay, so and so over this. Well, don't you want to? Well, I thought, maybe, you blah 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 blah. Like, don't coerce people either, because that's violating their consent. They have to make that decision by themselves, a full knowledge of what they are doing and or consenting to. Period. So, like, and I'll, actually use the examples that relate to the kink community instead of going around it. I was about to talk about eating hamburgers, but so you are in a formal space, which it again may pose a problem for a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys may not have the option of going to a formal space. So, but you are in a formal space. You go in, you sit down because you have no idea what's going on. Someone approaches you and they say, hey, have you ever, how about we do some light rope, some light floor work, right? Something pretty easy. Maybe someone puts you in a chest harness, or they put you in a fudumomo. As a chest harness, as you can imagine, a rope comes around your chest in a way. Fudumomo, and you can modify it for other parts of the body, but so typically people use the leg, which you can't see, but that's fine. And it's just the leg folded on top of itself, and then the rope is strung around there. Okay, so let's say it's super, whatever, that's just super easy. You say yes initially. You get in, you sit down. You guys have negotiated, which I do plan on doing a portion of a video as well. But most people put negotiation and consent in the same box. And again, because people think that they get it, but statistically we can see that people don't actually get it, as well as, like I said, continuing just in your normal life. Like your consent gets violated all the time. Let's just be honest. So the world doesn't honestly understand consent as well as it should. But so you're sitting down, you're doing this thing with this person, this floor work. They get you into, let's see, the chest harness. Let's say they end up with your arms behind your back for whatever, and you're doing the thing, and you realize that you're actually just really uncomfortable. Like, this isn't a happy experience for you. Maybe so there's a pinch in your shoulder. Not that you don't like the whole rope process. It's just like, ow, my elbow seems to be giving me more problems than I thought that it would. Like, I've had that, and I adore rope. Like, just sometimes my shoulder isn't happy with me. It can also feel like a lot of pressure to right then at that moment tell that person, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, but like, in statistically, again, women are there, that's a whole gender thing, are not socially raised to be forceful with their words, to think that their words will be listened to. And we're also conditioned to do lots of sorrying. So there's that. Since I brought it up, my gender, umbrella, trans, specifically non-binary, under that gender fluid. Sometimes, yeah, woman fits, sometimes it does not. So, but anywho. So you're in this position, you notice yourself to be uncomfortable, you're having all these conflicting feelings and emotions now about actually telling the person, hey, what's going on, so on and so forth. Let's say you do, and they should untie you, and talk to you about the experience, talk to you while it's going on, ask you what happened, ask you how your shoulder is feeling, provided that you've given them that information, because also people can't read your mind, and that's the biggest thing, right? Like, I know we put a lot on body language, because that is absolutely, seriously, legitimately a real way to communicate. We put a lot on, like, understanding cues and being able to read a person and feeling the energy and the atmosphere and knowing the situation. But at the end of the day, even if a person is the best at doing all of those things, they cannot read your mind. They do not know what's going on. So you have to be vocal with them. I know it can be hard. I know it can be scary, but like, literally saying to this person, hey, I am uncomfortable right now, or hey, actually, just can you take me out of it? Like, I can't even explain it to you, but like, I need to not be doing this right now. And if that person then tries to convince you to still do it, then that is a red flag. It is a red flag if someone tries to convince you to do something that you have expressed like hesitation about it in any situation. Bump. Like, and that is consent, right? And that is the difference between someone trying to coerce you into a thing, like, and which is why it can get slippery, because some people enjoy a little bit of push. I have a friend who likes to be a little bit of a pusher, and I have a friend who likes to get pushed. Like, but there is a line. To me, like, you can ask outside of kink situations. Let me be very clear here. BDSM and kink situations can often be very psychologically in depth, very psychologically in tuned, and also very physically demanding. So right there, you have two huge things that you do not have the ability to be able to like understand and fully work through as a normal human being. You like professional psychologists do not engage with you in certain ways for reasons. Like your doctor does not engage with you for certain reasons, in certain ways for certain reasons. Like you cannot actually um do the things that may be necessary if something psychologically or physically bad were to happen. So just don't do it. Just bag off. Just bag off from that person. Like in this situation, right? If it is a lower pressure situation, if it is a situation that does not have as many like issues or concerns involved with it. So specifically, I mean a situation that is outside of BDSM or outside of kink. If you are literally telling somebody, "Hey, do you want the sandwich?" Like, and they're like, "No," and they're like, "Are you sure?" And like they give you a no again. Like to me, in my opinion, for me, that is good enough. You can check in on me, and if at that point in time I change my answer or I keep it the same, now you know. And that's my only advice for people who like to do a little pushing and people who like to get pushed a little bit. But like even you all have to have an understanding of relationship to like know what kind of people that you are. So in this instance, I am like the situation called for talking about an individual stepping into a unknown situation and trying it out for the first time, and another individual who they have not met previously approaching them to do this thing. So you guys don't know each other. You guys don't have a relationship with one another. Do not try to coerce that person at that point in time. Like literally just give them space. Just give them exactly what they are asking for. And exactly what they are asking for is to have a chest harness on for the first time. They interrupt, they tell you something's going on, or for whatever reason, I'm not enjoying it as much as I would, and maybe I need to calm down. Literally, it can be entirely devoid of what is going on in the scenario, and that person can just be like, anxious. Like literally, you're again in a new situation. You could just be anxious and want to say no and want to stop what you were doing, even though you're all gung ho to do it. Even though you may be mad at yourself for not finishing it later on, it is better to be mad at yourself for saying no and stopping and like give yourself another chance to understand the situation so that you can come back into it later than it is for you to say yes, for you to agree, and then afterwards hate that person because you're going to have some very strong emotions about that, but then ultimately still like have harmful psychological thoughts for yourself because you allowed something to happen that you really didn't want to. Like, so consent. Practice it every single day. What are you saying yes to that you don't want to do? What are you saying no to that like really hurts you? How does it feel? How does it feel when no comes out of your throat? How does it feel when yes comes out of your throat? What do those things mean to you? Like really understand and engage that. And so for the most part, I've been speaking about this from the bottom perspective, but also as a person who is topping. So there's just so much information to go over, guys, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I will be using top and bottom for my monikers because it literally describes the position that you are in. Are you receiving or are you giving? Like, and there's nothing to do with submission or dominance with that.